You are listening to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney theme parks podcast. And this is show number 488 for Sunday, the 4th of February, 2024.
Where dreams begin.
Hello and welcome to this week's Disney Dream Girls. My name is Michelle Young, and together with my jolly good chum Jane Phipps, we are your guides to the place where dreams begin. Hello there, Jane.
Hello there, Michelle. We'll ask how we're doing this week, but I think our lives have both got a little bit chaotic of late, haven't they?
Yeah. Well, husband had to go and have his little questionable thing, mole, removed from his back, which we're now waiting to see if it's something nasty. So I think we're in week 4 of waiting for results, so it's taking its darn time. I'm going off on sick leave on Friday for my surgery, which is on the Tuesday, and I'm probably going to be off for 3 to 4 weeks. And there's a lot of projects I've been doing because apart from being a teacher, I'm also in the management team. So I've been doing all sorts of projects around school to drive attainment and make improvements. And I'm trying to get them desperately finished off. So it's been a bit mental, Jane. I'm really sorry.
Well, no, unfortunately, Michelle, there's this thing called life. It kind of gets in the way sometimes, doesn't it? And then obviously I'm kind of, although both Simon and I now are kind of retired, we've got things that are cropping up in our calendar. So sometimes it's just the logistics of you and I getting the free time at the same time, isn't it?
Yeah, because I've had a few late nights at work, and then I've had hospital appointments for pre-op checks, which means I've not got home till even later. And then on top of that, I felt pretty poorly for a week or so, and now I'm on this plan where I'm preparing now for surgery on a week on Tuesday. So it's all fun and games.
I can think of things that are better fun and games, Michelle, but yeah.
Yeah, this morning I had to do a 1,500-word essay to complete my National Professional Qualification in Leading Literacy, which sounds very glamorous.
It sounds very posh, Michelle.
Yeah, it isn't very posh. It's what I do. It's my bread and butter of my everyday, but I have to put it into practice to prove I can do the job I've been doing for 4 years.
Oh, isn't it ridiculous? Red tape and all that.
Yeah, because we all know we work so that we can have a Disney obsession.
Well, this is it, isn't it? It's not a cheap obsession we all have, is it?
No, it's not. It's an incredibly expensive obsession, but an incredibly rewarding one. And, you know, as we were talking a little bit earlier, through doing this little old podcast, our lives have been enriched by all the amazing people that we've had the opportunities to meet, interact with. Some people we've not even met, we just chat online, and we've met on our trips, whether it's a cruise line, whether it's in the parks. It's just amazing. It's wonderful. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's something that Simon and I have experienced as well through our Star Wars cosplay. I think when you find the groups of people that are your people, it's surprising just how many friendships you can generate without even, like you say, even meeting people. And I think from both of our experiences within the Disney community and I think within the cosplay community as well, I think there's a lot of very kind-hearted and generous people out there, and it's both lovely communities to be a part of.
Oh,
very
absolutely.
Privileged.
I got to meet you through it, for heaven's sake.
Well, crikey, yes. And yeah, look how long that's been going on, love.
10 years.
Can't get rid of you now.
I know. It's like that wart that you got when you were a child that they've never frozen off.
Yeah, but I keep picking at it every now and then, you know, and it's all right. It keeps me going.
All right, thanks. And I feel really unglamorous recording today.
You made the analogy, Shell, not me.
Well, true. I don't really want to refer to myself as a what.
No,
maybe
I
a sparkling pixie dusted, I don't know, unicorn.
Could well be.
That's the only thing that's getting me through the last couple of weeks was wearing really ridiculously outrageous outfits. And the kids at school have absolutely adored saying, "What are you going to wear tomorrow? Are you going to wear the one with the cupcakes, Mrs. Young? Have you got anything with dinosaurs on?" So it's been very much fun at work at the moment.
Yeah, at least you have a really good excuse to wear daft stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. talking about having an excuse to do daft stuff, we're going to be looking at a few things today about the lovely, wonderful dining experience you can have at the Great Maple over in Disneyland. And we're going to talk about what on earth is Disney going to do to try and compete against what's happening over the road at Universal.
Yeah, interesting times ahead.
But before we do all of that fun stuff, I gather we have got some history, Jane. So it's over to you.
Thank you, my dear. Yeah, just a few little bits. This first one is for the 4th of February, and I couldn't resist talking about this one because there's a namesake in this. This is 1922. The actor William Phipps, the voice of Prince Charming, was born.
Relation?
I don't know. I'm intrigued now. I feel like I need to do one of those "Who do you think you are" moments, and try and work out whether we've got some sort of relation too. Would be really interesting.
What?
But apparently he played the role of Quentin in Disney's 1990 Homeward Bound. But in the early days of 1950s science fiction, he was one of the first actors that kind of became associated with that genre of movie. And he appeared in things like Invaders from Mars and The War of the Worlds. So I feel like I should know this person's name, but obviously it was news to me when I discovered it the other day. So yeah, actor William Phipps, 1922, was born. Staying kind of at the early part of the 1900s, again on this day, 1932, another Disney legend. This is a guy called Bob Allen, who I wasn't particularly familiar with. But what I love about this is that this sums up to me the quintessential Disney employee and how people stay involved with the Disney company for such a long length of time, and how they can start out from small buds and blossom into these amazing people that we wouldn't have what we have today if it were not for them. So he started working for Disney as a ride operator on Casey Jr. at Disneyland in 1955. By 1963, he had moved up to production coordinator at Disneyland. And then in 1970, he actually moved over to Florida. He became director of general services for Walt Disney World, and then was later named vice president of its resorts division. He then became chairman of the Walt Disney World Operating Committee in 1973, and by 1977, he became vice president of Walt Disney World. And I just thought it's lovely, isn't it? To start out as a ride operator. I bet he never thought in a million years in 1955, working on Casey Jr., that by 1977 he would be vice president of one of the biggest theme parks in the world. That's just amazing.
It just goes to show from a humble beginning, you can rise to being the cream of the crop. And as you mentioned that, it's a lovely segue to this week where we missed our wonderful, fantastic favourite Imagineer, Tony Baxter. He was 77 this last week.
Yeah, and I think, it's so lovely to see these Imagineers that are still involved with Disney or still willing to give their opinion. And I'm a big believer that these old school, if you like, Imagineers, these classic Imagineers that have got lots of years under their belt, understand Disney extremely well, may have even had the privilege of working alongside people that worked with Walt. And there is a vast amount of knowledge and understanding there that I think needs to be appreciated and embraced, and perhaps even leaning into your little topic about how do we counter Universal, perhaps, looking back at the classic Imagineers may be a good place to start.
Absolutely. Look to the talent under your own roof and let them run wild with their ideas.
Absolutely.
Well, I think this week we're going to kick off with a little bit of food talk, Jane.
We've not done food for a while.
We haven't, no. And even though I'm on a non-food diet at the moment, I am still going to quite happily talk about this latest eatery to have opened over at the Pixar Place Hotel. Its signature sort of road of eatery is American comfort food with elements of fun, made from the highest quality of seasonal ingredients. And the interior to me is It's very colourful. It's incredibly colourful. Lots of really bold, bright colours. There's like an olive green, there's yellows, there's blues, there's orange. But then at certain points, because the flooring is quite a neutral colour, at times it looks quite stark and it doesn't look like it's a place that would give you comforting food. It looks like a place where you just can't be comfortable. Maybe it's too stylish.
I say I haven't seen an awful lot of it. I do think there's a danger at the moment with a lot of the design work that's going on in I suppose it's in a desire to be nice and have lots of clean lines and be a very contemporary and not to be overtly fussy. I think it becomes very difficult then to not become too stark and too remote. And I think it's something that Disney have always managed to, in the past, embrace theming really, really well. And kind of going back what I was just saying about with some of the older Imagineers or those that have got lots of years of service under their belt, these guys know how to do that theming. And I think there's a better marriage sometime between really immersive, good theming and still being able to keep it nice and clean and contemporary. And I think sometimes we go too far into the contemporary, the clean lines, and like you say, it becomes a bit sterile. Does that make sense?
No, exactly. Sterile is a word that I thought of immediately after our good friend Tommy Allison sent me some pictures. So what's to like about this place? There's one menu. All day, every day, it's the same. Whether you're going for breakfast, lunch or dinner. So for me, I am a bit of a girl who likes a nice sweet treat every now and again. To be able to get this either in a breakfast time or dinner time makes my little tummy feel really happy, because if Kona Cafe offered those macadamia nut pancakes all day, you know where I'd be found.
I think there's nothing wrong with an all-day breakfast. It suits me down to the ground.
It does indeed. And I'm going to start with the sweet treats on this menu, where you have a trio of delights to consider. They have their maple bacon donuts.
Ooh, okay.
They are 3 donuts made to order with a signature maple bacon glaze.
Right.
Then there are seasonal donuts. And then there are powdered sugar beignets. And at the time of reading, they were filled with lemon curd.
Oh, unusual, yeah.
So there's a big section of things that you can get to sort of put on the table and have a little bit of a dip into, what they call their sharing menu. So they have some portobello mushroom fries, some cauliflower hummus, Parmesan truffle fries, mac and cheese, thick cut smoked bacon, pork sausage, sour cream and onion scalloped potatoes. Now, Tommy tells me the secret star of this entire menu is that mac and cheese. It is phenomenal at $15.
It needs to be.
Aged white cheddar and American cheese, herb, panko gratin, and you could add bacon to it for $4. Obviously, you're going to add bacon to it. Everything gets better with bacon.
Well,
and $7 for shrimp.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. But if you're not particularly hungry, if you just want to have a few nibbles, that sounds really great. There's also a section where you can choose from a range of sandwiches and burgers. There's something for vegetarians, there's something for vegans, there's something for your carnivorous types as well. Prices range in that sections from about $26 up to $30. So, you know, pretty much in line with other Disney restaurants. You could go for something a bit more substantial. They have a 10-ounce New York steak at $45. But on the other end of the scale, they have a turkey bolognese at $27 and a grilled chicken bowl at $30. There's also a fish offering, some baby back ribs, which are cooked in a soda pop. Sounds very intriguing. There's some salads, and then there's a whole host of your, what I would call comfort American style foods that you'd want any time of the day. So you can look for your pancakes, your French toast, chicken and donuts, lots of things on there. Oh my word. The menu does look really good. Tommy's eaten there twice. He sent me pictures of the food and talked to me about the quality. He's impressed. So if Tommy's impressed, I'm impressed. So next trip out to Disneyland, I think I will be paying there a little bit of a visit.
Yeah, I must admit, I'd not seen an awful lot on it, and I've just been glancing through the menu myself. And there's I think, like you said, there's plenty on there that whether you want a light bite or whether you want something a bit more, like you say, comforty eating type food, there's definitely quite a few things that I've gone, ooh, at. So that's always a good sign.
Yeah. If you're going, why not let us know? We'd love to hear your little mini food review.
Send us some photos.
Oh, yes. Can't beat a little bit of Disney food picky.
Keep us going.
So, Jane, would you like to introduce the next topic? Because you're a little bit more ahead of the news on this than I am. What's happening with Universal?
Well, Universal, they, this past week, have kind of released what can be best described as a trailer for their new park that will be opening in 2025. Now, I did see something that originally they were saying summer 2025, and apparently they've now dropped summer from that release date, and they're just saying 2025. So there's some speculation that that date may be getting moved back a little. But what they've released is the lands that they're going to have there, and there's also a hotel, and it kind of looks as though you're going to enter, I think it's called Celestial Gardens, and then from Celestial Gardens you go through portals or portways into other lands. There's a land, let me get this right if I can remember, there's a Harry Potter land opening, there's a How to Train Your Dragon, there's a monster, the classic Universal Monsters type land, and then obviously there's Nintendo. So I think we've all probably seen Nintendo World that has opened up over on Hollywood on the West Coast. So that's also going to be part of the whole Epic universe, as they're calling it, as their third gate. So I think anybody that follows Disney, you probably get a little bit of Universal coming into that feed anyway. So you'll be able to see, I'm sure lots of people will have seen the construction that's been happening down there. There's a big hotel as part of this construction as well. And they're kind of pushing it now to say, come to Universal. There's enough for a family for a week. There was quite a lot of talk from what I haven't seen the trailer all the way through, I will confess, but what I've heard is that they make reference to listening to the fans, giving the fans what they want. And there was also some line about making wishes. It wasn't making wishes come true or making magic happen, but it was something that you'd not maybe normally associate with a Disney launch. And I think the interesting thing is that we've had from Disney over the past few years lots of their blue sky. This is going to be happening. It might be happening. It might be there or it might not be there. It could be this. It could be that. We might retheme this area. Whereas Universal seemed to have come along and gone, boosh, there you go, guys. This is what we're doing. These are the parks that you're going to get. Lap it all up. And I think there's probably a lot of us in the Disney community going, Disney, why aren't we getting, a new park down in Florida? Because it's been talked about for lots of years that there could be a fifth gate opening. Why aren't we getting that, dates, concrete dates on expansions to Animal Kingdom or expansions to Magic Kingdom? I think it's been a long while. I mean, Galaxy's Edge was 2019, I want to say. Look how long it took them to get Tron actually in and running. I know they had the pandemic, but it still took way longer than it should have done. And I appreciate that it's something that I think Universal are having little issues with as well at the moment, because there's so much construction happening. There simply isn't enough construction crews and people and companies in that area to meet the demand. Understandable. But these are big companies. They surely, to goodness, should be able to somehow or other, solve that issue and get the investment going. If Universal can do it, I think the question is going to be, why aren't Disney?
Well, let's just have a look at what Disney is planning on for the theme park fan in Walt Disney World to counter what is happening over at Universal. So, beginning of January, park pass reservations were sort of decreased a little bit, which were a big fan hate because it was an annoyance. And the park hopping rule of 2 p.m. Bye.
Yay.
So,
I mean,
those
for
are
us,
pluses.
Shell, I mean, for us, because we get dated tickets being, visitors from another country, it works out great for us. I do feel for the annual pass holders having to wait for those good to go days, but yeah, much better, much better.
Oh, definitely. From our point of view, I don't need to think about what park I need to make a reservation for. I know I can get into any of the parks. I can go with the flow a little bit more easier on any upcoming trips.
Yeah.
Another thing that was brought back was the Disney dining plan, which a lot of people do really like. For me personally, to pay for the dining plan itself does not make financial sense because appetite is tiny. However, for a lot of people, they prefer to get this, and it's even been offered as deals that you can get as part of your ticket hotel package. It can look quite attractive to people.
It can, yeah.
We have got World Celebration, Communicar Hall, Communicar Plaza with Mickey and Friends. Now, we've got no dates for this, but within here it's going to have a Mickey and Friends meet and greet area. So we are going to officially have a big push on characters having a bespoke area to meet, where before the area that you could meet some of the Disney characters weren't that really bespoke.
Yeah.
But I do think characters are going to be something that Disney needs to work really hard on and think who are the ones that fans really need to see, because diehard fans will pay upcharges to see rare characters.
Yeah, and I'd actually personally, because I'm not a big character person, but I would rather see just more roaming around characters as well, like you used to get in the good old days where, I mean, and like we did when we were on the Disney Dream back in September, where, I stepped up onto the next floor, got to the top of the staircase, and there was Belle, and I had lovely interaction with her. That I think those sorts of moments when you just come across characters when you're least expecting them, I think are just as magical. And whilst I agree, Michelle, that there are people out there that will pay for those upscale moments to get the characters that they want, I think the budget aspect for a lot of people doesn't allow that. So,
True.
And personally speaking, I think this is another area that Disney needs to be very careful of, because, Walt's philosophy was that this park was for everybody, or the parks were for everybody, no matter what your pay scale, everybody came in and got the same experience. There's a danger that with everything revolving around money, that no longer is the case, and that's not really what Walt was wanting to create with the parks.
True. And I also feel that if Disney used its characters in a particular way, it will drive people to go to Disney World because they love their characters. However, a counter argument for the nice, wonderful little roaming little meets and greets that we all as fans love, there are some fans that don't know how to queue and to wait. And there has been incidents really recently where those portraying characters in the park have been verbally or physically interacted with in an inappropriate way. Shall we just leave it at that?
I think possibly, yes.
So, over at Hollywood Studios, you will find Ahsoka joining the lineup of the much-loved Star Tours ride at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Is that going to really drive people, though, to think, oh, I must go ride Star Tours? You're the Star Wars fan, Jane, so you better be careful with what you say here.
I think for very, very, very hardcore fans, it may. I think the issue that Disney have with Star Wars in general. And with Ahsoka, Ahsoka was, I mean, I love the character Ahsoka. I loved her in Rebels. I don't think the TV series was quite what all the die-hard fans were wanting. So, I mean, there's even debate whether there'll even be a season 2 now or not. So that's another total other conversation to go into. I think with Star Wars in general, Disney need to listen again more to the fans, and they need to go back to the OG. They need to embrace Luke, Han, Leia, and recognise what got people into Star Wars in the first place.
Sounds a good idea. Over again at Hollywood Studios, the Voyage of the Little Mermaid show is going to be coming back, but coming back as The Little Mermaid, a musical adventure, fall 2024.
Again, it's great that they're still keeping that show. Love that show. It's so sad that it's been out of commission for such a long time. And I think we've all heard the rumours about mould and things in that building because obviously it wasn't being used and there's obviously water involved. So is this just a case of it's getting a revamp and it's been then not passed off, but then being promoted as a new show, which it obviously will be a new show, but it's kind of just a replacement, if that makes sense. So
we shall see. I was very excited this last week getting some pictures live from the Magic Kingdom showing me the progress that's been made on Tiana's Bayou Adventure, opening in 2024, but we don't know when. But bear in mind, the announcement about Splash Mountain was made all the way back in June 20th, on June 25th, 2020. It's a bit of a time to wait for the new attraction. It would be fantabulous if this was going to be open for this year's hot, steamy summer months.
Yeah, I mean, from what I can see, for once, they do seem to be making quite good progress on it. So that's a positive. I still think it's got a lot to live up to. I think Splash Mountain, from what I am aware of, was probably, I think at one point, it might even have been when it was still up and running, was voted the #1 ride in the world. Not just in Disney, in the world. So there is an argument of you've got this ride that people absolutely love and have voted it #1 in the world, and you're changing it.
Leading on to that, Country Bears Jamboree this last couple of weeks had its final days. Yeah. Did you see the queues?
Amazing.
Do you know, Disney, you missed out on this one. Just keep telling people a ride's going to shut and then they'll flock to it. You can make a mint in selling merch and then say, ha, only kidding.
Well, we had it when Maelstrom closed, didn't we?
Yeah.
And again with this. All right, it's another one that's going to be coming back. It does sound like there's going to be lots of improvements because they're going to be replacing all the animatronics, which obviously the animatronics are quite of an age now. So it will be nice to get those updated with more modern servos and things like that can actually make the operation of them smoother, because we did have a bit of a breakdown, didn't we, on the last few shows on the final day. I think it's hopefully, all fingers crossed and touch wood. I know they're going to change some of the songs. I think some of the songs are staying, and they're going to bring in classic Disney songs that they're now going to perform. So it'll be interesting to see how it all transpires. I just hope they keep the essence of what is the Country Bears, because I think, like you say, the crowd's proved what a beloved attraction it actually is.
Absolutely. But all of those announcements, are they enough to get you spending every single day of your Orlando vacation in Walt Disney World? Or are you going to be lured over to Universal, which not only offers a cheaper 2-week ticket to those from the UK, but now it's got a lot more attractions to cater to your needs? It's going to be a really tricky one. We were just talking about it off air, and we were thinking some of the ideas that Walt Disney World could do to keep people in. We mentioned characters. I'm mentioning, massive for me, would, come on, let's get the parade situation sorted, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just rattled off, didn't we, between ourselves prior to recording, all the parades that have gone before and what's happened to them. Where are they? I remember going to visit in the early 90s, and you had two nighttime parades. It was either, Main Street or it was Spectrum Magic, and you had fireworks. Two parades on an evening. I mean, this was the height of, high season, as it would have been called, but, nighttime parades, that's surely an easy one.
And they can do it for the upcharge parties at the Magic Kingdom, because you have the Halloween parade, you also have the Christmas parade. I'm looking at Festival of Fantasy. Amazing parade, but did you know this March it becomes 10 years old?
I know. Where's that time gone?
And I know there was the COVID whole time that never happened, but it's a 10-year-old parade. Disney do parades really, really well. So maybe it's time for something to be revitalised with regards to that parade. And I also mentioned things from my memory. I only started going to Walt Disney World in 2010, but I remember seeing the Jamming Jungle Parade over at Animal Kingdom, and that was phenomenal. It was a lovely little parade, and you got to see the characters, and they just drove past you. That ran for 13 years, finishing in 2014. That's one that could be brought back. And again, at Hollywood Studios, we were reminiscing Stars and Motor Cars. Then there was the Pixar Play Parade. I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of remember things as well. Like, I think I mentioned to you, when High School Musical was out, they used to do this like little roaming sort of mobile show type of thing that would stop in front of Chinese theatre, and you'd have like a bit of a dance party and things. I think they did something for Monsters University when that was released. I've just been, actually, just prior to recording today, I've been scanning some photos in from a visit in 1996, and there was photos of Epcot with an acrobatic act happening. And I think it's those, what I suppose what you would call coin streetmosphere, those extra bits have added something or other, whether it's little performances, whether it's the cavalcades, whether it's the parades, whether it's, I remember there used to be musical little things happening in Epcot, all sorts of bits and bobs that would just give that day in a Disney park that upscale vibe without you having to pay for that upscale, if that makes sense, And I think that's something that if people could see they were getting extras for their money, it would perhaps entice people back to visit.
Absolutely. And I'm going to just end this discussion on nighttime parades, because the Magic Kingdom, I recall seeing several trips, the Main Street Electrical Parade, which glowed away back in 2016 and made its travels elsewhere. Over in California, they had Paint the Night. Fantastic parade, but it's not been since it left in 2018. So it would be really nice, couldn't somewhere in a Disney US park have this parade? I do know that there are issues with it, that it's been rumoured to be in storage off property. There's issues perhaps with the cast members and their safety, or perhaps the technological elements of the parade. But we're dealing with Disney, and you're dealing with a place that is charging over $100 a day to go in and be entertained and wowed. These are things that Disney could do to keep their guests in the park, because if we're in the park, we're buying merch. If we're in the park, we're eating food. You know, it all adds up. So each guest could be doubling their ticket price with the things that they are spending quite easily. But if you're not going to provide that lure for people to have that repeatability, i.e., if you can pretty much do Magic Kingdom in 2 days, a day at Animal Kingdom, a day at Epcot, and a day at Hollywood Studios, and you're coming from the UK with maybe a 2 to 3 week stay, you're going to be down the road.
No, absolutely. I can go back to when we very first visited in the early 90s, in the days before Animal Kingdom. And our time would be split. We would take in SeaWorld, we would take in, what was just Universal Studios at the time. I've always kind of been of the opinion that Universal doesn't feel as welcoming. I think there was somebody somewhere the other day had commented on the vibe that you get from Disney, and it is this sort of, it's like a bit of a big hug, isn't it, you get from Disney. it makes you feel all warm and cozy inside. And I never got that from Universal, and I'm sure the people out there that do get that from Universal. And I will admit, on my last couple of trips out there to Florida, we didn't go anywhere other than just Disney, because that's all we wanted to do. There wasn't anything that was luring us to go off site, so to speak. But you have to say now, I mean, looking at what they've done with Nintendo World, it does look impressive. And I personally may not go to Universal for a week, but I think I'd be more tempted to go and have 2 or 3 days there. And even if, a UK guest or whatever is having 2 or 3 days at Universal, that's 2 or 3 days less that they're spending at Disney.
And additionally, Jane, if you are considering having a trip where you're at Walt Disney World and possibly Universal, because the benefits of being in a Disney hotel are reduced to what they used to be, people now might be considering in staying in one of the Good Neighbour hotels, or even a non-Good Neighbour hotel. Absolutely. So that they're equidistant between Walt Disney World and Universal, to save those dollars, because that's what it comes back to. Our dollars are hard earned at the moment. The exchange rate from the UK to the USA is ridiculous. We've literally halved our value in financial terms. So to be able to go and get the maximum out of your deal that you've got, you're going to have to be canny and look about your budgets.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting going forward to see just what happens to general tourism in Florida, because of the fact that, are people this coming year going to delay going until next year when they know that the new Universal Park is open? Will Disney see a drop off when the Universal stuff does open? And the knock-on effect on hotels and everything else. It's an interesting time ahead, and I think from every Disney fan's point of view, I don't wish to be moaning about what they are or they aren't doing. We just want them to do well. We just want Disney to be a success, and we want to go back to having that same vibe that we've always had with them.
Absolutely. Right, well, let's wrap up this week's podcast. I hope you've enjoyed listening as much as we've enjoyed recording. If you want to hear more from us, you can find all our past episodes on our website, DisneyDreamGirls.com. All of our past podcasts are also available in your podcast catching app, whether it's an Apple-based device or going over on one of the other usage platforms. You can find us on Instagram @DisDreamGirls. You can support us financially by visiting patreon.com, where you'll be greeted with additional bonus content just from us, just for you. But until next time, it's a goodbye from me.
And bye from me.